I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What do you mean, calm it down? It's a fight. Referees telling two fighters who want to fight to calm it down. He should calm down.
So he's like a clown in his show, man. He's not your guy.
Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack. Look, Eddie Hearn can say all what he likes. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearn says? It's garbage.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Can you let me retire and be happy? Please, just please.
Bombs away from the Bronx Bomber!
Water! Let's go, baby! Let's go! I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview. What are you talking about? You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You got shit. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
I got dropped, man.
No, you won the fight.
OMG, I am so excited.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube. Obviously, podcast from iTunes, Spotify, radio, etc. I'm Matt, the Hipster Hunter. Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms. And this should be a really fun show, even though there's not a ton to talk about in today's show, to be honest. And honestly, not even a ton of fights to talk about. We had probably the first big boxing weekend of the year, but it was still largely a hardcores weekend, and a weekend that was on paper filled with some tune-ups that maybe didn't end up that way, obviously, in the Williams-Rosario massive upset. But a lot to get to on today's show in terms of the fight breakdowns here on the panel, and plus a little bit of some news topics to talk about in the second half of the show. And I'm joined, as usual, on these shows with a full panel minus Foogatti, with Rob and Gary. First, going over to Rob in the UK, Robbie Hearns. Rob, how are you, man?
Let me just unmute. Yeah, I'm good. Big upset this weekend. Mostly upset on my behalf. I was requested by my eldest to purchase the McGregor pay-per-view. So breaking it down at £20, I think that cost me about, I don't know, was it £6 a second or some shit like that? I don't know. But anyway, boxing. Yeah, big upset. Rosario. Julian Williams says he was going to peel his banana. It turns out his banana was his right hand. He peeled that bad boy back. And yeah, he had it force-fed him pretty much all night. Pause. But yeah, there's plenty of other stuff to talk about. Obviously, the top rank card as well. Impressive knockout for, wait, was it Storm Alvarez? That's it. But yeah, Gary, how you doing, man?
Gary in Dallas. Gary, what's up, man? How are you?
It was what I thought was going to be a really blasé weekend of boxing where nothing happened. And we got the upset of the year. I mean, unless something crazy happens. I mean, we got the upset of the year. And then we got a contender for knockout of the year in the Storm Alvarez fight. That was vicious. I love it when they get knocked out, but I like stand up straight first and then just fall backwards. I love those knockouts.
The O Timber moments, yeah.
Yeah. That was a vicious knockout. So it was, I mean, like when we 11 months from now, when we start looking back at the best moments in boxing, we're going to get our upset of the year and our knockout of the year, maybe at least a knockout of the year candidate on this really quiet, what was always going to be a quiet, boring weekend of boxing.
Just a quick shout out to everyone. I know the struggle. It's January 107th, and we're all trying to survive on like our last £3 out of our December paycheck. January is so long, but we've already had, like you say, knockout of the year potentially, upset of the year potentially, and we're not even in February yet. So yeah, if this is what boxing is going to deliver for 2020, then yeah, it's going to be a rough time. Let's come on, Ivan Redcatch.
Come on, King Tug, let's go. Oh man, let's get my Deontay Wilder because he's the underdog. No. Digressing though, let's get to the Williams Rosario fight on Fox. And I gotta say, this was perhaps, like Gary said, the upset of the year. If this was last year, right? If this fight was the last week of December, this would be the upset 2019, right? This would be a bigger upset than Andy Ruiz or Anthony Joshua, in my opinion. Like this is a massive upset, regardless of any year.
Like in reality, it's probably a bigger upset than Ruiz Joshua, but Ruiz Joshua has so much more. It was the heavyweight champ of the world, right? Like, yeah, like Rosario had no business winning this fight. Like, you look at retrospect, like Andy Ruiz is good. Like, it shouldn't have been that big of an upset. Like in reality, but when Joshua gets knocked out like that, it's bigger in the sense that more people saw about it, and it's a bigger headline, it's bigger news than what Rosario did. Like in reality, Jason Rosario could have blown out in a couple of rounds in that fight. Like he had no business being competitive in that fight, let alone winning it by knockout.
Rob, I mean, I gave my reaction show last night, so I really want you guys' thoughts on this fight and the upset factor here.
Yeah, it was nuts. I forgot it was on Box Nation, and I was like, would have recorded it, or even, in bed if it was still sort of in the early hours hanging on and like, oh, the boxing, yeah, put it on. I'd have watched and I'd have known. But I think I woke up to you guys in our group chat, and I was like, wait, what? Fucking J-Rock lost? And you're like, yeah, man, in the 5th round knockout and everything. I was like, what? And then I was like, straight on Box Nation trying to find it. These guys are fucking me around. And Twitter proved them right. I was like, oh shit. And then went on Box Nation, and I've caught up with everything today. But yeah, man, I think he was at one point yesterday. Rosario was a plus 2,000.
Sorry, plus 2,000. Yes.
Underdog. Like, holy crap. 20 to 1. Sorry, nearly said 200 to 1. 20 to 1 outside. Crazy. But he completely just demolished J-Rock, really. At first with the stoppage, I felt the referee should have counted as like a knockdown because the ropes held him up, but you could see before, like, there was a bit of a tussle to dragging him sort of almost to the ground, and he looked then like, I don't want much of this. And he didn't complain. It was a kind of a little look of like, what? Oh, and then it was like, yeah, I'm all right, Rev. Like, I'm good. we can stop now. But shout out to J-Rock. He was on his Twitter, said, he was the better guy. I think he even said it post-fight. Like, he was just better than me on the night. We've got a rematch, and we'll be doing that real soon. But yeah, what an upset. Crazy. But he was big, eh? Rosario was big.
He was a middleweight. I mean, or at least a super middleweight.
Changed.
I mean, he was massive in that ring. But this was, this reminded me in a lot of ways to like Charlie Edwards versus Julio Cesar Martinez. Where like Charlie Edwards is still a great fighter. Julian Williams is still a great fighter. But you could tell almost instantaneously in these two respective fights that something was off in terms of the ability between the two. Like Martinez's ability just to hurt Edwards with anything he landed, and he was landing everything at will. It was just alarming. It was terrifying. And this fight, same sort of factor. Rosario was landing everything, and everything had vicious power behind it. And again, he had success from the first round on. Like it was his fight from the very beginning of this fight. Yeah, Williams had, you can maybe argue won the first round, maybe argue he won the third round, but still largely Rosario was the guy marching him down and beating him up. And now we have a new unified champion at junior middleweight. Gary, thoughts on Rosario, his performance, what's next for him out of the PBC on Fox event last night?
Look, I don't know what to make of this performance. Just like I didn't know what to make of J-Rock's masterpiece against Jarrett Hurd. Like, was this a one-time thing that he can never, ever replicate? Was this him? Was this J-Rock against Hurd just performing out of his mind and having the night of his life? Which I think it was. Like, I want to say this about Rosario. I haven't seen enough of Rosario to know that this guy, I mean, he can't do this. This is his Buster Douglas moment. If they go fight again, he loses. I'm pretty certain of that.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't matter though. Right? It's like when Boise State beat Oklahoma on the Statue of Liberty play, or when the Giants beat the Patriots when they were undefeated. It's like it doesn't matter if they play again because they don't play again. They played, they fought last night and Rosario won. I think J-Rock beats him 9 times. They play 10 times. I think Rosario loses 9 of them. I think.
What do you make to Rosario first time ever having a training camp for a fight? He's 23 years old, obviously improved leaps and bounds since the Nathaniel Gallimore fight. Is he just a guy that all of a sudden is actually a top 10, top 5 guy in the division? That can't happen, Gary. Like, I mean, come on. We're talking about J-Rock, a guy that we wrote off after a loss. Then he made us all look like fools. And then he got beat by a guy that we all wrote off after a loss and made us all look like fools. Like, this is history repeating itself from 2019 to a significant degree in this division. And I think it, in my opinion, and I'll jump back to you because I want, your take on this, Gary. I think this just proves that this division is loaded with talent. And a lot of these young guys, when they lose, they can figure things out after that loss. A lot of young guys, if they're talented enough, if they're athletic enough, they can do that. A la Erickson Lubin, what we're seeing right now, also in this division. Are you writing off Rosario from that Nathaniel Gallimore loss? And are you still writing him off even after this win, Gary? Just play devil's advocate.
I mean, what's writing him off? A 10 to 15 guy? Jaime Munguia? Yeah, okay. I mean,
come on, Jaime Munguia can never have done this. I mean, he struggled against Dennis Hogan.
You didn't see the defensive flaws in Rosario and how easy he is to hit, and if you can just make this guy go backwards, which, again,
I'll be honest. What I saw on repeated, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Gary, but what I saw on repeated watching was him slipping that right hand from J-Rock consistently. Like, every time J-Rock threw that right straight, Rosario just ducked, and somehow he was quick enough to do it because he was that tall, that much taller than J-Rock, slip and have that right hand go sailing over his hand or his head. And that happened time and time again, and J-Rock became unbalanced every time. I mean, to a degree, you're right that Rosario was a come-forward pressure fighter, so therefore he is more susceptible to getting hit than, let's say, a slick boxer. But he was hard to hit. J-Rock was definitely having a hard time landing shots on him. Am I wrong in that?
I mean, he got hit plenty of times. He got hands put on him for sure. I mean, he definitely landed a bunch better shots for sure. Right? Like, I said it was 2-2 Santiago. I talked to him at the fight. So he had 3-1, which is it. 2-2 or 3-1 is where the fight was. But you could see that Rosario was like, his work was more effective. He was breaking down
Williams.
J-Rock. And like, I was like, if J-Rock doesn't do something, if J-Rock doesn't start moving and totally change his game plan, this might get real interesting. And before it got real interesting, he got knocked out, right? So, I mean, look, I'm not buying into Rosario. I've seen him against Gallimore. I've seen him fight another guy I never heard of to a draw. I've seen enough of Rosario to know that this is a one-off. And the more the more I think Castano's can clean this division out. Now, I don't know that anyone can just run through all these guys because they're kind of even. But at this point, if you said to me, who's the best guy in the division, I'd say Castano.
Yeah, we know you say that. But you say we saw him against Gallimore, and then J-Rock beat Gallimore, and now Rosario's beat J-Rock. It's this whole triangle thing, it doesn't work in boxing. Styles make fights. And
on top of that, he's a 23-year-old, 6'2" junior middleweight, okay, that had his first ever training camp. And look at the leaps and bounds and improvement he had. Like, you can't just, like, I'm sorry. Like, there is distinct differences between him and other prospects we talk about that struggle, a la Joey Spencer, we're going to talk about later on in the show. Jaime Munguia, who obviously just left this division. Those guys don't improve. We saw improvements in Rosario in this fight. So it's impossible, in my opinion, to then go and say, oh, I've seen him fight Nathaniel Gallimore and he lost, so I can write him off. No, we've seen him improve since that fight. So you are only as good as your last fight in this sport. That is the God-honest truth. People hate that, but it's the truth. And Rosario proved in his last fight last night that he's a lot better than that Gallimore performance. A lot better. Leaps and bounds, levels better than that Jason Rosario that showed up on that night. And honestly, I don't know how we say that he's going to lose to guys like Castano, who had a draw with Islam de Laura. His best fight was a draw, for fuck's sake. Patrick Teixeira, who just beat Carlos Adames, who has a belt. Tony Harrison, who got knocked out by Charlo, and was out pressured and was able to pressure Charlo, I could see Rosario come in here against Harrison or Charlo and walk them down easily and knock them out. I think it's completely ludicrous at this point in time, 24 hours after the fight, to say, yeah, Rosario, yeah, Williams beats him 9 times out of 10. That's asinine, in my opinion.
9 times out of 10 is maybe aggressive, but I don't know that it's. I've seen Rosario enough. I've seen him fight.
No, you haven't. He's 23 years old.
Fair.
You've seen him in 3 fights that you can name. One of those fights he had a training camp for, and he beat a unified champion.
Can we get that? I never had a training camp thing came in the post-fight interview. Can we get a proper translation? Does that seem reasonable to you? He's signed with PBC. He's never had a training camp before?
First off, he was not signed to PBC with Nathaniel Gallimore. That was a showbox card. That has nothing to do with Heyman.
Okay. Samson Lubikovic, right?
I think he's a Samson guy, yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's saying the Samson curse.
Yeah.
Putting in guys, and Samson guys are upsetting these.
You tell me that a 21-year-old, I think it was when we saw him fight Nathaniel Gallimore, I think he was 21 years old, 20 years old. You tell me that a Puerto Rican that's 20 years old isn't really properly training for fights, but he's an athletic monster, so he's getting them? Yeah, that's absolutely possible. Look at Jaime Munguia. The difference is Jaime Munguia went to an Eric Morales camp and started training and didn't make improvements. Jason Rosario went to one camp with I forget who his trainer was, and made massive improvements. Like, his combination work was truly sublime in this fight. Like, everything was accurate. Like, that's one thing I want to note here, and before we move off this fight for any reason, the accuracy of Rosario should not be undersold. Yes, he was a power puncher in this fight. Yes, he swarmed him. Yes, he was the aggressor. Yes, he had volume, but his shots were accurate. Everything was landing. The jab, left hook, right hook, everything, the uppercut, everything was landing on Julian Williams. A guy that had sublime lateral defensive movement against Jarrett Hurd, another pressure fighter. Again, Rosario, I think, showed us that he's a top 5 guy in the division, and this division is stacked with talent, and there's so much young talent in this division that it's rapidly evolving in front of our eyes.
So, Matt, you think he beats Adames?
Yeah.
You think he beats Castano?
Tough fight. Yeah, but I'll pick him.
What about Harrison or Laura, boxers? You think he can
beat Harrison? Laura's tough because I would assume Laura would get on his bike, but then again, we've seen Laura not get on his bike for some time, I think due to him sort of aging out to a degree.
Same thing with Harrison. We saw Harrison fight a ridiculously.
Like, Rob, you should get, but like, think about like Laura's last.
No, I was thinking back. He walked down Canelo's brother. I'm trying to think of the other ones.
Castano, he was like, they were in the phone booth a lot. The Hurd fight, a lot. He tried to get on his bike at times, but you can tell he's getting older. So that's a factor with Laura. He might be.
That happens, right?
In a year from now, we talk about he's closer to retirement than being a top 10 guy, just because that's how boxing works.
Like Rigo, he's not really.
If this was the Laura of 5 years ago, I'd pick Laura, but it's not 2020, so I'd probably pick Rosario. I thought his ability to cuff the ring was pretty well adept here as well.
Yeah, he didn't just follow him.
The guys that I think he would have issue with because of just their punching power, they could meet him in the center and give him issues, is guys like Jarrett Hurd and Charlo. I think those are the 2 guys that could give probably the most issue. Maybe even Castano would do that, meeting him in the center and being able to maybe match him for that aggression, match him for that power. Because we haven't seen Rosario really be on the back foot and have to do that. Like the Nathaniel Gallimore fight was just an ugly fight, to be honest. Wasn't a lot to really be, taken away from that performance, in my opinion, from either guy. Just an awful fight. But yeah, I think he does well against all the top 5, top 10 guys in this division. Absolutely. He beats Teixeira and gets a belt right now.
Take. The banana beats Baby Charlo.
That's not. I don't think that's a hot take. Tony Harrison. Warmish. It is maybe warmish. Tony Harrison was a guy that doesn't have pop, isn't a pressure fighter, was able to swarm and pressure and out-volume Charlo in the rematch. That's a huge red flag. And Rosario is bigger than Harrison, taller, stronger, more power. Yeah, I think it's not out of the question that Rosario could beat everyone in this division. However, because of last night, we have to say that this division, anyone can be beat. that there is so much parity. There's so much dynamic style matchups here in this top 10, top 15 that guys like Erickson Lubin on any given night could beat anyone. Like there's a lot of guys that could have great nights on in this division and beat a name. And this division is loaded with talent, and that's why we need a tournament.
The thing I did like about Rosario was everything he threw was hard, but he was never wild, right? It's like a lot of times when people throw everything hard, they're way out of control. But he wasn't. Like he was everything he throws is a fastball. It was like Noah Syndergaard, the pitcher. Like everything, his changeup is hard. Like everything is hard, and that's going to be tough to deal with because it's constantly, dodging daggers, right? And he's never out of control when he does it. But I mean, this guy can be outboxed. I mean, he can be outboxed. Harrison, Laura, those guys. As long as Harrison and Laura box, they don't try to stand in with them. I think they pick him apart.
Johnny in the chat saying, let's not overhype him. He might lose soon as he defends his title like J-Rock did. But my point, Johnny, is that this division as a whole needs to be hyped. That because of your reasoning that he might lose in his next fight, that's because the division's so stacked with talent. The depth of this division, I think it can't be unnoticed. We have to talk about this division being the best division in the sport. That needs to be a topic of conversation on more podcasts, not just ours, but other podcasts, other media, other articles. I want more op-eds talking about how junior middleweight is the secret golden division of boxing that no one's really utilizing. I want those think pieces out there on The Athletic and ESPN.
Is it stacked and loaded, or are they all equally not that great?
I mean, they're all good.
I'm joking.
So, okay, I don't think there's any pound for pound greats in the division, right? Because Laura's over the hill, but Laura's still good. And then you have a bunch of middleweights who shrink down to 154. Jamel Charlo, Jared Hurd, Rosario, and then you have good boxers, really high IQ guys like Harrison and J-Rock, and then you have upstarts like Erickson Lubin. This is. And then Kell Brook. Where does Kell Brook fit in? He fights in a couple of weeks.
Get out.
Look, Calla Sutherland, fuck off any other divisions. Throw the whole season free purse money at the 154-pound division. It won't happen because of who they were. It'd have to be on Showtime, or it'd have to be on Fox, or
I don't know. To interject there briefly, Rob, because I love the idea, but I also think that that's possible. Why is it
possible? But I don't know where DAZN stand on the rights to.
I agree. I don't know. But speaking of what if I'm Sutherland, if I'm World Boxing Super Series, I'm trying to organize that tournament. You give one-off fights to different networks, and you create the tournament, and you create a schedule, and you work with all these networks. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of concert with other corporations that have their own interests. But it's possible, especially like you said, Rob, if you consolidate it and just do one division. That's all you need. Put all the money in that one division.
Maybe two, and have a real low weight, I don't know,
cheap. Women's division too, because that'd be cheap. Something to that effect.
Yeah, but please not cruiserweights again. Fuck me. We've had two runs at that now. But huge upset. And I know you said you're only as good as your last fight, but if you want to listen to Joey Spencer after his post fight, you're only as good as your next fight. So. We'll find out next time out for Rosario.
Joey Spencer at some point.
Oh, we will.
When we starts at 154, he ain't one of them.
Oh my God!
Is he 154? Is it?
Yes, he is. Yes,
yeah. If you want to talk prospects that could get into the tournament, like a Madrimov or who else was?
He's a middleweight, not a junior middleweight. Sorry.
Who isn't?
Joey Spencer. He's a middleweight.
Oh, okay.
But digress. We're gonna get to it, Gary. Don't worry. We're gonna get to Joey Spencer because I know there's a lot of
everyone wants to shit on Joey Spencer.
The entire boxing world does. Let's go to the co-main event. Unless anyone else has any other last thoughts about Julian Williams, Jason Rosario. Do we want the rematch? Do we want the instant rematch? Yes or no?
Yeah, but I'm fine with any of these PBC guys. Castano, Lara, Hurd, any of them fighting each other. Let's do it.
Do you think J-Rock should take the immediate rematch?
That's probably a better question, right? Because I'm okay with it because, like Gary says, any matchup in this division right now is just amazing. So I'm okay with it to a large degree. But if I'm in J-Rock's camp, if I'm in his ear, do I tell him to take the instant rematch? Well, I'll say this. I think from a PR perspective, you might have to. But then again, it's J-Rock, so he might not have to deal with that PR backlash. He's under the radar.
Joshua, right?
Yeah, and if he wanted a tune-up and in-between fight, then that's fine. I think even Jason Rosario mentioned that he would want a tune-up as well in between. I think it was either him or Samson specifically mentioned that.
Yeah, I mentioned like it's mandatory as well, but
yeah. So
contractually, if there's a rematch, does that not?
It's not. I mean, it would be if Julian Williams activates it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, is there a possibility that he would be stripped of the mandatory that absolutely. He didn't take like Fury, right?
Fury, Klitschko, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a possibility. I hope it doesn't happen.
That's when they need to get on board and understand the situation, right? The governing, but whatever. I guess they want it to move on and stuff, but whatever.
Speaking of moving on, let's get to the co-main event. Chris Colbert defeating Jezreel Corrales via unanimous decision. And obviously this fight was ugly. It was a little bit boring. First half of the fight especially. I mean, wow. The holding in this fight, and large aspect of that was due to Jezreel Corrales just being a real ugly fighter at times. And I mean, like it was like the Ladarius Miller fight in a large aspect in that first 6 to 7 rounds. Then the refs started really, I think, pressuring Corrales not to hold. They started exchanging more, got a little bit more exciting. But Chris Colbert, I think, just being the better boxer throughout and also being the heavier hitter, which I thought was really, really shocking. Colbert being the aggressor, being the power puncher, being the guy that, no, I'm going to make this a fight, was a dynamic that I did not expect. If I thought this fight was going to be ugly and there's going to be a lot of holding, I thought it was going to be the opposite way. That was Colbert having to sort of survive Corrales' wild combinations. And it was the exact opposite. I don't know what to think of this fight in large aspects, but I will say this: great feather in his cap, former champion, guy that beat a possibly future Hall of Famer in Yukiyama. So, I mean, beating Jezreel Corrales is a better win than beating Jose Pedraza, beating Joet Gonzalez. Who else? Who did Virgil Ortiz beat? That was great.
Orozco.
Yeah, definitely.
That was great.
Antonio Orozco.
Air quotes, Rob. Air quotes.
Herrera.
He has a great drinking habit. But digressing, you can make a legit argument Chris Colbert has a better win than any other prospect in the sport right now, just on pure name value. So, guys, thoughts on the co-main event for this PBC on Fox card? How did you think Chris Colbert handled this fight and handled this huge step up performance here?
Can I go first, Rob?
Yeah, go for it, man.
And I know this is going to be unpopular because a lot of people on social media, Matt didn't. I think I'm on Matt's page, but even more so. I thought the performance by Colbert wasn't good. I thought it was great. He controlled a pro, right? You could see that.
I was not expecting that. Well,
I thought he outclassed him. I mean, I had a 119-109. I scored one round to 7. Then there was a couple other rounds that you could have scored possibly for Corrales, but I thought Colbert was in control the entire time. I thought he looked like a 33-year-old veteran who's been in 20 title fights, absolutely controlling the pace and doing everything he wanted to do in the ring. I get he's not going to win casual fans. I get he's not going to win over a bunch of new fans with that performance, as it's not exciting. But what did you not like about it other than it wasn't an all-action fight?
His hair.
No, his hair's fine. His hair's fine. I have one criticism. Him deciding, I'm going to walk down Corrales, I'm going to have the high guard on, and I'm going to try to knock him out. That led to a lot of unbalanced combination work from him. It led to him being hittable at times from Corrales' counters. And anytime he went to southpaw position, his game instantly suffered.
Yeah, so don't stay out of the southpaw set. I agree with that. You're not a switch hitter, bud. You're like the switch hitter who hits 300 from the right side of the plate and 150 from the left side. Don't do that. Just stay righty.
So there is some criticisms of Colbert's performance, in my opinion. They are maybe minor gripes, but again, if he's fighting, let's say, a Leo Santa Cruz or Miguel Burchell, can he have this same game plan? No, and hopefully he shifts game plans. And Gary, you're sort of shifting your head there, but I mean, like, do you think he could have this game plan against Leo Santa Cruz or Miguel Burchell?
Burchell would be difficult. Santa Cruz? Yeah, I think he beat Santa Cruz.
But not with this game plan, though, right?
I mean, maybe don't get that out of your vocabulary. That's not you. But everything else, I mean, it depends what Santa Cruz, because Santa Cruz likes to box now, which I think is the wrong game plan for Santa Cruz, right? That's not who he is. He's fighting Santa Cruz. He's fighting a pound for pound guy, arguably. He's fighting, a borderline Hall of Fame guy. You're probably going to have to make some adjustments to this game plan, but I don't think it's anything major.
I don't know, man. I think he would get hit a lot, and that would be an issue.
Corrales is a good fighter. Like, I saw Corrales not really interested in. Look, Corrales had a game plan. Try to score more and hold on, right? Like, you could say he'd land a little combination, and then he'd, try to hold on like an amateur. Okay, I just want to outscore him. I just want to outthrow him. And it's like, it looked like to me that Corrales knew that he was outclassed. And Corrales is no pushover. Corrales was a guy with a lot of skills who maybe never really lived up to all the hype. But Jezreel Corrales is nobody's stepping stone. Jezreel Corrales is a really skilled, really talented, really athletic fighter.
Gary, hold on 1 second, okay? I want you to refresh yourself. I'm going to refresh myself too, okay? Because we're having some issues here. Okay, Rob, you might be the only one left on the stream. Just be careful. You're muted.
Hello.
Yeah.
What? I don't know, Matt. You went all fucking Dalek, fucking Doctor Who style. I don't know what happened to you, Gary, through your Colbert rant. And
really?
Matt just disappeared.
Okay, I'm back. I'm back, guys.
Yeah, Gary went all Dalek on us.
He did. It was
his entire Colbert rant.
Oh man!
If he just said exterminate, we were good.
Yeah. You're so British sometimes, Rob. I love it. Oh God. But digressing. I mean, I would hesitate to call this a great performance. It was a good performance. He obviously, I think, showed that he is at the level of a world champion and the elite level. But a great performance, this wasn't it. And that was in large aspect to blame to Jezreel Corrales' performance. Because this fight was ugly. This fight was nasty. It was just not a fun fight. And that was due to Jezreel Corrales.
But that's what I'm saying. Given the circumstances that Corrales was going to hold, and Corrales wasn't interested in fighting that much, I don't know what he could have really done much better. I mean, you can find critiques. It's probably an A or an A- performance, not an A+ performance. But given his age and given the level of competition, it was really good. I give him a chance against anyone in the division.
Oh, absolutely. No, don't get me wrong. Off this performance, I definitely think he has a chance against everyone in the division. But if he had a great performance in my mind, then I would have probably picked him against Leo and Miguel Pichel and all these guys now. Well, right now I'm picking him against Oscar Valdez and Carl Frampton for sure. But Farmer, Leo, and Miguel Pichel, those are still tough fights for him.
I'll say this. Did he look small to you compared to Corrales? Did he look noticeably, not short, but doesn't Shakur Stevenson, who fights at 126, look bigger to you than Chris Colbert?
I didn't see that. I thought he was actually bigger than Corrales, to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong about that, opinion. But I did not see that. But and again, Shakur Stevenson is a giant featherweight. So he's obviously going to move up to lightweight. And I think Chris Colbert's going to move up to lightweight as well at some point.
I personally don't see him as quite at the elite level just yet. But he's on his way, I think. Yeah, like you said, maybe this a little bit more on Corrales, but yeah, I don't know. It was. I found myself oh yeah, Colbert, cool. I'm gonna watch it, and I found myself just drifting off.
Yeah,
from watching it. Other things took over. There was a little bit more looking on Twitter and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you knew what the
beating my children and stuff like that. What?
You knew what the end was, right? When you woke up in the morning and put it on, right? You knew Colbert won.
Yeah.
See, that's the one thing I hate about waking up in the morning and watching fights, especially if I know what happens. It takes all the suspense out. It's so hard to watch on demand afterwards.
Yeah, but I'm kind of glad that halfway through that one, I did know who won because it made not
You
watching
can check
the rest
out.
of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because that would have been like, oh god, shit, does this go 12? Like, damn. But no, we'll see how he goes. I like him. I like Colbert, but I don't think he's quite up there yet. Like maybe you think. But
Do you think he beats Oscar Valdez?
I think that's a tough fight for him.
Stop it.
Stop.
All right, don't ask me questions if you don't like answers.
I want truthful answers.
I know what the answer is if I ask Carl Frampton, so I'm not going to ask that.
Herring.
Because we all think Carl Frampton's better than Oscar Valdez. So if you think Valdez is a tough fight for him, then obviously you think Frampton's a tough fight for him and even maybe beats him. So there's no point asking that question. So Valdez is like the benchmark. He's the barometer, in my opinion.
I always think you're a bit harsh on Valdez myself, but
I mean, who else would you think is that like barometer test for him at 30? Jamel Herring?
Do you think he can beat Herring?
That's a tough fight.
That might
Herring's
be really
big, right? Herring's big, no?
What about Joseph Diaz?
He beats Diaz. He outboxes Diaz. Whenever you see someone put on like a clinical, masterful performance like that, I'm always going to take him to beat a pressure fighter who's not really even a good pressure fighter.
This wasn't a clinical, masterful performance.
I disagree. I just think the opponent was ugly. Like the opponent didn't help, but
even regardless of that, Gary, go and watch the last 5 rounds of this fight when he had to punch more because the ref was really getting on him about it. He was landing a lot of combinations on Colbert, and Colbert just decided to eat those shots. Like, you can't do that.
I just think he's maybe a couple of fights away before like being handed the torch, if you know what I mean. A couple of.
I agree with that, Rob.
Do you know what I mean? I just don't think he's quite at the elite end yet. He's close. I'm not saying like, oh, he's overhyped. He's this, that, and the other. No, don't get me wrong, but
Hassan
needs to hold off.
Hassan in the chat. Colbert versus Jonah Carroll.
Who you got, Rob?
No, he'll box Jonah Carroll's head off.
Isn't Carroll's fighting Scott Quigg, right?
Yeah, in a headline show.
That's coming up soon, isn't it?
March.
God.
It was only announced this weekend.
You got Chris versus Tevin Farmer.
I got Tevin right now. If I gun to my head, if I have to make a pick, I'm picking the safe bet. That might be a little bit harsh on Colbert, but this wasn't a masterful performance, in my opinion. And that's not just due to the fight being ugly. He was getting hit with shots. He sacrificed a lot of defense to be an aggressor, and you can't do that against these top guys.
Not when he's not really
shots by Jonah Carroll for the first 7 rounds of the fight. Like, I mean, I think you're overrating, and I like Tevin Farmer. He's on the wall, but I think like you're overrating Tevin Farmer a little bit. Like,
no, you know me, Gary. I don't rate Tevin Farmer as the best guy in the division.
Who's better, Jonah Carroll or
I love these questions. Who?
Corrales.
Oh yeah, Jezreel Corrales, of course. Yes.
Okay. Well, Chris Colbert handled Corrales far better than Tevin Farmer handled Jonah Carroll.
Styles make fights, Gary. Come on.
I don't know. Look, Gary. The first 7 rounds of this fight, they like both landed a combined like 10 punches around each. You know, like this just doesn't. It was a fight that like not a lot happened, and that was due to sloppy offense by Chris Colbert, which has to be a criticism. You cannot watch that fight and ignore him being off balance throwing these right hands.
You can't have purple hair. You can't have purple hair and then not fucking wow the world, all right? You got to look fucking good.
Outfit. So he had gladiator shorts, like a king's robe and a sombrero. Like it kind of some mismatch, kind of like who dressed him for that ring entrance? That was.
I don't know. Digressing. Chris Colbert he's still like. This is a great, like I said, it's a great win. It's arguably the best win of any prospect on the planet right now. But it was a win, and that made me think there's still issues in his game that these very top guys will probably capitalize on, because Jezreel Corrales has been slipping for some time now. And plus, he's a guy that clearly doesn't really care to fight anymore. Like, look at the Ladarius Miller fight as well.
Which I thought won, by the way. I know it didn't go that way, and it was really close, but I had Corrales winning.
Yeah, I do as well. But I mean, I would still put Bachel, Leo, Jamel Herring, Farmer, Frampton, Joseph Diaz, Oscar Valdez. Those are all guys that have accomplished more still to a degree. I don't know about that. They've definitely accomplished more. They maybe not have like a signature win like Jezreel Corrales. But then again, they have I don't know. I need to see more from Chris Colbert. I do. This was his first big step up. This was his first big name. And it was a tough fight. I think you cannot there's no way you argue this wasn't a tough fight. I can watch this fight 1,000 times and I'll say it's a tough fight every time. Maybe you think it's a masterful performance. You thought it was 119, 111, Gary, but I didn't see that.
There were a couple of rounds where not much happened. Sure, you could have gave him to Corrales like the first 2 rounds.
Corrales won like 4 rounds. 4.
That's what one of the judges said. I don't see 4 rounds that you can give to Corrales. But the other 9-3, and I think 9-3 is giving every close round to Corrales, which is fine.
There's 5 rounds in that fight, Gary. I don't care who you score to win it.
That's
was
how
bad the rounds were.
Sergio Moore. This was not that fight. Like that was.
You muted yourself on accident.
Easter and Bartholomew. This is not that. Like this is not
because it picked up at the end.
Yeah.
But Gary, if the first 7 rounds kept going on to the last 5 rounds, then Gary, we would have been talking about this fight being like Bartholomew Easter. This was a bad fight, and the last 5 rounds barely did enough for me to like give some bailout to Chris Colbert and his performance here. Okay,
it's a toss-up. You could have watched 7 rounds of that or 7 rounds of a Coley. That's a decision to make.
It's weird because Matt's always been.
I would pick this. I would pick this over Coley. Let's not get twisted here, Rob.
You're a hater. It's the same shit.
Matt's always been the Chris Colbert cheerleader. Like he's always been a big fan of Colbert.
Yes.
And I was like, he's good.
even got criticism.
How ready he is, but he's good. I mean, I don't know how close he is. And then after this performance, I'm like, oh, Matt's going to agree with me that this was a great performance. And Matt's like, give it a. What do you give it? A B-? Give him a grade.
B+.
Okay, I give him an A.
Yeah, no. There's no way. Dude, all the rounds he fought in Southpaw bump his grade down instantaneously.
He didn't. I got to go back. I don't want to watch it again because it wasn't entertaining. Like, go back and watch the card. I'm going to watch the Rosario fight for a 4th time. I'm not going to watch the Colbert fight again. But I'll go back and watch it.
I'm telling you,
rescore it, and I'm going to have a £1 bet with Matt that Coley wins a world title before Colbert does.
You want to do a little bet?
Yeah.
Okay, we can do a little pound bet.
Well, you get like $1.20 then. That's not fair.
We'll equal it out. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it.
Well, how confident are you in your bet?
I bet £1.
I'll bet you $2 £1 that Hector Tanahara wins a world title before Ryan Garcia.
I don't care to bet that.
He is never going to win a world title unless they hand him something.
But speaking of Ryan Garcia, I will bet anyone Ryan Garcia will win a title before Joey fucking Spencer.
Yes, let's get into Joey Spencer, who was walked back by a guy who had 1 knockout in 18 fights. Come on. Joey Spencer is not it. Like, I get he's athletic. He does some nice things, but he ain't even close. Like, he's not even. They have another prospect who fights in Mississippi on the Ugas card named Raymond Guajardo from San Antonio. He's way better than Joey Spencer. Way better. Like, Joey Spencer, this is their prospect of the year. You're in trouble. Like, Joey Spencer? Nah.
First off, it's not the prospect of the year.
He was.
He's prospect.
I understand that they said that PBC said that, but like they were wrong.
Yeah. They were wrong, and hopefully they know they're wrong, and he gets a few fights off TV now instead of being on TV. Let him sort of get. He says, I'm going to be really active this year, and he's going to fight 4 times. He's only, how many fights has he had? 10? Like 9?
This was his 10th.
I suppose 4's, I guess, sort of the right.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Let me jump in for a little my rant here because I love Gary's rant.
Yeah, he was passionate.
I was not expecting that. He came in
shock horror. The big prospect from PBC is truly from San Antonio. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I know. I love that. Joey Spencer threw, I think, an average of 8 punches at a round in this fight. Not through. Sorry, landed. Sorry, apologies. Landed, not through. That
Where'd you get that from? CompuBox?
Yes.
Oh,
Not saying that it's how to win rounds or anything like that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just stating that holy shit, this guy was so inactive. Okay. Within the round, within just volume, within activity of fighting his opponent, who was named Eric Spring. Some of the names of these B-sides, by the way, were really bad. But
no spring in his step.
No spring in that step. Joey Spencer, for a guy that's supposed to be like a heavy hitter and knockout artist, has like no knockouts and has like no pop. And plus, like, this is not related to fighting, but he got engaged and married 2 weeks after he got engaged. Got married in a cowboy hat at 19 years old. What a corny motherfucker. I want you to lose just because of that, let alone like you being just a bad fighter that gets way too much hype and push than you deserve. And a lot of prospects that we talk about, even prospects that I shit on that Gary loves, are better than you, Joey Spencer. A lot. Ryan Garcia is exponentially levels above you, Joey Spencer, in terms of the prospect. And he gets shit on all the time by the boxing community.
Team Batman Boxing reminded me, he said, remember when Spencer's team said he's like Canelo style-wise?
Better prospect, Omar Juarez or Joey Spencer?
Omar Juarez. Omar Juarez has allegedly killed a person, for fuck's sake, okay? Like he is gangster. Like, no, he gets all the credit in the world. Joey Spencer, he got married in a cowboy hat after being engaged for 2 weeks at 19 years old.
Can we like address like how bad of an idea that is for a 19-year-old with this newfound fame to go get married after 2 weeks? I mean,
and in a cowboy hat.
Matt's got a real problem with his hat.
Barn. Where's he from?
Texas, isn't he?
Joey Spencer? No,
I don't know.
If he was from Texas, would I be crapping on him like this?
You should. You shouldn't let your bias.
Molina. That's it.
You shouldn't let your bias stop you.
I have him up right here, but I don't want to click on his name because I'm scared the system's going to crash. Again, we should get our internet fixed here at M-Star Studios tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers crossed. We have an appointment scheduled. I had a text message from the company and everything saying, hey, we're sending you a guy. They said that 2 times
Make
last
sure he brings a new fucking router with him in case.
Oh my God, it's so sad.
No, your router's fucked. We'll have to send you out a new one.
I said that so many times on the phone call too. You have no idea. Like, you better not be out here and doesn't have a fucking router. And he says, "Oh, I have to go get one." I don't want to hear that. I'm not paying for him to come out here for that. But digressing, Santiago saying Matt's hating on the cowboy hat because the real cowboy was Don Cerrone. No, he's corny as fuck too. But digressing,
he's from Michigan, Linden, Michigan. I don't know. I guess it's a small town or a suburb or something.
Yo, you're from Linden,
but he
Michigan, and wearing cowboy hats. Get the fuck out of here.
But he lives in Union City, California now, which I guess that's where is that, Matt?
Union City, California. That's I want to say that's like mid coast. I want to say it's like Central Valley, but more like closer to the coast than actual the valley. I could be wrong about that.
Does he live near Bakersfield?
I think Union City is near Bakersfield. Hey.
The only thing I know about Bakersfield is the Butcher of Bakersfield. What movie is that?
The Butcher of Bakersfield?
Is that Running Man? Wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger the Butcher of Bakersfield or got pinned for it? Anyway.
That's your generation, Rob. Okay. That's back to Running Man? I haven't seen Running Man since I was like, what, 10?
I don't know why you said what. I don't know. You're the
I
only
don't know either. I was 10 when I watched like all those Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Like Commando and all those like shitty B movies.
Commando, shout out,
great movie. I think it's like the fucking 4 quad rocket.
Were you 10 and paused it when they go through the bedroom and that woman goes, ah!
Dude? There's a side topic for another show. The amount of movies that show like tits when I was like a kid and I paused a lot.
Running Scared. Went through the Tyson Fury training camp 7 times a day.
Weird one though. Totally telling myself here, but Running Scared with Billy Crystal and what's his name? Why am I forgetting? What was the comedian's name? Fuck. Digressing though, there's a scene in that, and those that know that movie know what I'm talking about. There's like techno music going on. Great stuff. Artistic work there. But digressing. Back to the fights. Joey Spencer, yeah, he's trash, and he has no right to be talked about with any other top prospect in the game. Even Mario Barrios is like light years better than this guy.
Well, Barrios, I watched Matt get triggered, is a world champion.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's a world champion just like Jake Paul is.
He's going to vacate and move up, no?
I don't know. It seems like there's some confusion there. I don't know.
You got to ask him about Mario Barrios. We're going to get a Mario Barrios rant here from Garrett.
Ducking the guy he lost to. Well,
I didn't even know his name.
I forgot.
He knocked him down twice.
I forgot.
With one eye, he knocked him down. No eyes, really.
He punched him with his eye?
No, because his eyes were both shut.
Well, you say he knocked him down with one eye.
Type Wilson Rodriguez.
See? He's that bad. He doesn't even use his fist.
To be fair, Conor McGregor scored a knockout last night with his shoulders.
And a toe.
I heard it was 48 seconds or something like that.
Maybe that.
40.
I think it's more like 40.
How bad?
Not that 420, which I thought was funny.
It was a punching knockout, or did he take it down?
No, he was in the clinch with him. He shoulder bumped him like 5 times and broke the dude's nose with his shoulder, and then head kicked him and knocked him down.
I still don't understand your sport, Matt.
And then the referee let Conor
Well,
hit about 30.
Gary, to be honest, I can never think of another fight in my mind where that should happen. Somebody just went wham as hard as they can with their fucking shoulder and broke a dude's face.
He's fucking busting my open.
And the funny thing is, like, not the funny thing, but like, it was violent. Like, it wasn't like, oh, like, how did that happen? Like, when you watching it live, those shoulder strikes, air quotes, you could tell, like, oh shit, that's busting up the dude's face. Oh, he's fucked up. Oh, he got kicked in the face. It's done.
And then the ref just let him keep punching him till his bet on what time the fight would finish came in. It looked like it should have been stopped a bit sooner. But
if you want to watch fights, Gary, to understand why MMA is great, I know this is a side topic. I know boxing fans hate this, but I don't care. You have Fight Pass. You can watch these fights. Fedor Emelianenko versus Mirko Cro Cop.
You're going to have to write that down.
It's Pride. Just type in Fedor, and it's probably going to be one of the first fights that pops up. Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz 2, great fight. John Jones, Alexander Gustafsson 1. Old man fight. I know, Gary, you love old man fights. Let's be honest, you're an old man. You gotta love those. Dan Henderson versus Dan Henderson versus Shogun Hua. Amazing fight. But digressing, let's get back to boxing.
UFC 1 and UFC 2 when it was just like, it would be like jiu-jitsu guy versus a wrestler. And then you had like Tank Abbott, who was just this massive human being, right? And then like this, like mixed martial arts now is just kind of its own art form, right? Where it used to be guys of just completely different disciplines fighting each other.
Well, yeah. The sport has evolved over 30 years.
Wow, so that, God, why do you got it's not 30, is it?
1993.
27. Jeez. I remember UFC 1. I remember watching it because we had one of those cable boxes and watching it. Me and my dad and my brother like, what is this?
Anyways, any other fights on the undercard you guys want to talk about? Vito Milnicki Jr., Kyron Davis, Jorge Cota defeating Thomas Lamana, which is kind of a fun, ugly fight. Romano Cruz, I thought, picked up a good little KO win. Any other thoughts on the undercard, guys? No. Awesome. Let's briefly talk about the viewership for this. Carlos Toro reporting the overnight TV numbers for the first 2 hours of Williams Rosario on Fox. Main event bout ended around 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. 1.256 million viewers from 8 to 9 p.m. and 1.35 million viewers from 9 to 10 p.m. For reference, last year's PBC on Fox card in January, Keith Thurman versus Josito Lopez did 1.98 million viewers. So obviously a huge drop down from last year's event, but also not surprising. I mean, you go from Keith Thurman to Julian Williams. Like, of course, you're going to get a drop off of some sort in viewership between those two guys. But let's go on to the top rank card.
Real quick, all things considered, for J-Rock versus Banana Guy, don't you think that's a pretty good number?
With the UFC event going on at the same time. I think it was the Lakers Rockets game on ABC at the same time as well. Yeah, I think it did fine. It's not great, but it did fine. Absolutely. It's not like the sky's falling. It's not bad numbers. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a drop off from last year's. But there's context to why there is a drop off. Moving on though to a card that we don't know the numbers yet for this, but I'm going to assume it's atrocious. Edola Alvarez, Michael Seals on ESPN, which happened at the same exact time as the ESPN Plus pay-per-view for obviously the UFC card. And I gotta say, as watching all the cards at the same time, there was promos every other minute for the UFC card on the top rank card and not vice versa for obvious reasons. And Alvarez picked up a monster KO, probable KO of the year candidate when it's all said and done, when we hit December against Michael Seals after a kind of a ho-hum fight. Like both guys I thought were doing kind of good work, but nothing really exciting. I thought Seals was actually doing really good work in this fight. I thought he was landing some good shots on Alvarez. And I think, Gary, when we were talking about this fight in the preview show earlier this week, I think you mentioned, or I mentioned, or Rob mentioned, somebody mentioned that this is one of those fights, if we see Alvarez struggle against Michael Seals, it's a sign that maybe he's not ready for these top guys anymore. And it's one of those weird fights where he did, in my opinion, struggle until a knockout. So I don't know really how to gauge Alvarez post-Seals. So definitely want more of like a Solomon Barrera type fight and see where he's at in 2020. But Gary, thoughts on Alvarez knocking out Michael Seals in dramatic KO fashion?
The knockout was spectacular.
Yes.
Again, where do I rate Alvarez before? I thought Alvarez was doing good early, but Seals was starting to even up that fight and started looking like, okay, he may turn this thing, and then he got knocked out. I don't know if Alvarez is all the way back or where he's at. I like Alvarez. I think he has a bunch of good wins. It's just like if you're gonna fight Seals, don't get hit by him, and then you can beat him, right? Like he's not. It's like kind of like fighting Joe Smith. It's like a good boxer like Alvarez, who's been a better athlete, should be able to beat him. And he was struggling. Now he got the knockout, so all's well that ends well, I suppose. But I don't know. I don't know if he's back or he's kind of old now, right? He's in his mid-30s. Alvarez.
Yeah, I would assume so.
I mean, his best days might be behind him.
It's kind of looking that way to me. He can still have good nights and good performances and play a good B-side to the top 5. But I don't think he's going to be a champion again, if I'm being quite honest.
What if he fights Joe Smith for the vacant strap?
I might pick Joe Smith.
I might too. That performance was, as fun as it wasn't great. It's the opposite of Colbert's performance, which wasn't fun, but was great performance. This was a lot of fun this fight, but it wasn't a great performance.
I like the comparison. Don't really agree, obviously, with your assessment of the Colbert fight, but I do like the comparison. Like you're right. We wanted to see Alvarez, I think, blow out this showcase. And he didn't at all. Rob, thoughts on the Edola Alvarez knockout against Michael Seals?
Yeah, awesome knockout. Yeah, look, everything you want from a knockout, right? Is perfect.
The way his head got caught on the rope.
Oh shit!
To me, it was like the one like saving grace of the knockout that didn't make it be like a super nasty knockout.
Yeah,
going out the ropes, and that like caught him, and it also saved him from really like bouncing off the canvas too. Great knockout.
If I was his trainer, I'd be fierce because he threw this real lazy, sloppy hook, and Alvarez just went over it with that right hand. Like, come on, guy, you can't throw punches like that in this level fight. Like that's gonna happen, 99 times out of 100. You got to do that.
Very quick.
I'd have left him there.
Bob Arum before the fight tweeted. Well, I say Bob Arum tweeted it, but sort of interesting. He put, "This is really just the start of a big 2020 at light heavyweight. Great champions like Beterbiev and Bivol, contenders like these guys tonight, Vojdik and many more. They're all going to be in competitive, thrilling matches all year. Can't wait to promote a number of them." Just interesting that Bivol's in there. So I guess maybe Bivol might have a fight on ESPN or something. I think he is fight by fight. It's just interestingly, Bob named another fighter that we maybe assumed was going to have a fight with DAZN and Matchroom next. I think it's all sort of fight by fight with Bivol, but yeah, makes sense. That's where all the light heavyweight action is, right? So, but yeah, yeah, I mean, look, Seals, like you said, if you let him hit you, it's going to be a difficult night. If you don't, you should be able to get the, no disrespect, like older guy out of there, right? So at the end of the day, it's put Alvarez's name back in the mix with a impressive highlight reel knockout. But yeah, I don't know if he's quite the guy that maybe when he did win the title, and obviously he relinquished it straight away in the rematch with Kovalev. And yeah, back on the sort of comeback trail. But is he going to be that guy again? I'm not 100% convinced. You never know. Big guys throwing leather, you just never know. But we shall see in this year, I guess.
Yeah, especially since it looks like a lot of these guys will be fighting each other in 2020. Like I'm guessing it felt like 2019 was a setup year for a lot of different fights. Even though we got some great fights in 2019, don't get me wrong. Prograis. Even in this division, better be Vajic. That was a great fight, great unification in 2019. But it was also a setup for other fights and potentially bigger fights this year. Moving on to the undercard, unless anyone else has anything to say about the main event. Felix Verdejo, Christopher Diaz, and Jonathan Guzman all picked up notable wins on this undercard. Also, Jared Anderson picked up a win. I have noticed that Top Rank's been pushing him a lot lately. Though he fought someone that, holy shit.
Well, Jared Anderson's like 18, and he's huge. He's the same stage of his career that Tristan Calcruz is. Like, it's a process.
Oh, yeah, he's 2-0. Don't get me wrong, but he was fighting someone that, like, you're not going to gauge how good he is, but just pay attention to him going forward. But Christopher Diaz probably the name of the bunch on this undercard that has still the highest ceiling and potential. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked reserved in this fight, though a little bit too reserved in this performance. I think that gave him some issues. I thought he could have pressed on the gas in the second half of this fight and got him out of there. He kind of played with his food too a bit, and I have issues with that. But other than that, I thought his movement looked better in this fight. I thought his ability to slip shots was better in this fight. Overall, defensively, far better than in previous outings. Jonathan Guzman picked up a pretty fun KO win against Rodolfo Hernandez Montoya. And that was a little back and forth fight. Guzman went down in the second round. And Felix Verdejo put on another Verdejo-like performance. Guys, any other thoughts on the undercard?
Verdejo, just completely lackluster, right? Like, you weren't impressed with it or anything, right? It was just workmanlike. It's like, okay, he's not really as good as he was ever advertised to be, kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. He's the Puerto Rican Michael Conlan.
Yeah.
Like a guy that has always been the same fighter, hit his ceiling from his pro debut.
We could make that fight too. You want to make that fight, Matt? Conlan versus Verdejo.
No, we can't.
Oh, Verdejo's at 135 now, right?
Yeah.
I forget that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But moving on, because I think everyone really doesn't care.
I didn't see him. I just saw the main event for this one.
You didn't miss anything. You missed nothing.
Yeah, the Guzman Montoya knockout and fight was a back and forth fight, but it was a little 3-rounder. You can probably pop that on if you're bored, and it's 10 minutes of your life. But everything else, even the Christopher Diaz fight, it was impressive to see improvement, but a little bit of a lackluster fight, to be honest. Let's be completely honest. And he, in large aspects, that was his fault. Unlike Colbert and Corrales, that was all Corrales' fault. Colbert was really the victim of how that fight played out, while Christopher Diaz was the main driver of this fight looking like shit, to be honest. Also, there's a Showbox card on Friday. I've still not gone back and watched it. I've only seen the Ergashev knockout against Adrian Estrella. Also, Vladimir Shishkin picked up a win. Brandon Lee, who I think has been noted as a prospect, picked up a win. Gary, did you watch the Showbox card?
I've only watched the first fight, but my boy Alejandro Guerrero, Porkchop, who's from Dallas, fought on that card, picked up a win. Brandon Lee's a really good fight, but those were untelevised fights, the Lee and Guerrero fight. And I watched the first fight, the Jericho Quinn fight. He's a 115-pounder from the U.S. He's not good, though. You can see he's got some athleticism, but he just stands in too much. He doesn't jab. And then I haven't got to watch the main event and the co-main yet. I'll try to get to it today. But I heard I missed nothing. I forgot that card was on until someone reminded me after it was over.
The Ergashev knockout was a first-round body shot KO that I saw online. So, I didn't feel like I needed to go back and watch. card, to be honest. Cleaning up the show, just the last couple topics, and they're going to head out of here. Macaboo versus Selak back on course for WBC title in January 31st and set to take place in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Apparently, due to Mauricio Suleiman, there was issues with the local general there that they had to clean up, warlords and shit, to help put on major title fights. #boxing. Also, Joe Joyce may have a warm-up fight before Dubois in April, a.k.a. Quack. Let's be honest here, guys. He doesn't want that work. He doesn't want that smoke. And also, actually a really fun fight, Jamal James versus Thomas Delorme for some bullshit other version of a WBA title going down in Minneapolis. I love that fight. 2 top guys in the top 15, honestly. And it should sort of help solidify that ranking in the bottom half of the top 15, because these are 2 guys where they're sort of vying for the same position as a 11th ranked, 12th ranked guy, to be honest. Guys, any last thoughts on news, fights of today?
I like that Delorme, Jamal James fight. I think those 2 guys who are pretty good. I think those are guys who can give the other guys in the division, maybe not beat them, but give them troubles. And I think the winner kind of deserves a title shot. Like, you go through Jamal James' resume, he's run off some pretty decent wins now. If he beats Delorme, yeah, I mean, look, he's not going to beat Spence. He's not going to beat any of those guys, Crawford or Porter or any of those guys. But, I mean, he's got enough wins where he's earned himself a shot if he beats Delorme.
Or, if there's an odd man out in any way in the pairing of welterweight, whether it's a Thurman and Porter, something that's an odd man out. Jamal James, if he wins this fight, I'd love to see him fight one of those guys. Maybe not a Spence, because I don't really want him to fight Spence yet. I want to fight somebody else first to earn that shot. And a Thurman or a Porter coming off a loss would make complete sense for a summertime fight, right? I mean, look, we know the press conference would be hilarious, but what's a better fight, Keith Thurman, Adrian Broner, or Keith Thurman, Jamal James, if Jamal James beats Thomas Delorme?
Jamal James is a better fight. Because I think that they would want to keep Porter away from him just because there's such a huge height difference between those 2. It's like, this might be ugly. Let him fight Keith. Keith, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to beat Porter. That could have makings of a real ugly fight.
Or a fun fight. I don't know. Who knows? Rob, any last thoughts on the news or fights?
Yeah, just some a few little things. Billy Nelson, who is the trainer of Martin Bacoli, has said Bacoli versus Hrgovic is supposed to be in the making. Wow, what a fight. Bring it on. That'll be an interesting fight. Tyson Fury said he's got 3 fights left, and that's going to be Wilder, Joshua, and Dillian White. Claims Dillian White's been mandatory all this time, deserves a shot, blah, blah, blah. But this whole 3 fights left thing seems to be a recurring comment in so I don't know, WWE, you're welcome to him.
Briefly on the Tyson Fury talking shit thread, did you see obviously Tyson Fury talking, I think it was a press conference about training with Conor McGregor and how he's talked to him on the phone?
Yeah.
And then Conor was like, I've never talked to Tyson Fury
in
my life. He's a madman, crazy guy. I love him, but yeah, I've never talked to him in my life.
Yeah.
That shit was hilarious.
Yeah, things that aren't hilarious. Floyd Mayweather, off the back of the fight, has now put out 2 posters, one of him versus McGregor 2 and him versus Khabib. It's going to be a big year, etc., etc. Also, after McGregor's win, Pacquiao came out and tweeted "Notorious."
Hold on, what was that, Charles?
Fuck that shit. Fuck boxing. Fuck boxing.
Yep, that's right, Charles.
Yeah. What else was there? Just quickly. No, I don't think there was much else. But yeah, let's, as long as we get Logan Paul and Antonio Brown.
Get out.
No, I'm joking. But yeah, things will start shaping up, I'm sure, real soon. More fight weeks will be announced. I guess DAZN are going to be trying to bring out their one big-ish or big event per month. This whole, I think, new strategy going forward is to be, to maintain these subscribers. So I guess DAZN and Matchroom will have more announcements coming up real soon. Obviously, the Joshua fight should be spoken of pretty soon, because that was, I think, for the 31st, was supposed to be sorted out of this month. Look for Campbell and Fortuna to be on Tuesday, purse bids. I think that's where it's heading, so we'll see where that lands. Oscar Rivas as well was apparently looking at chatting to Top Rank officials, and I've seen a sneaky thing that he could actually be on the Beterbiev, is it Feilong undercard, so on the 28th or whatever it is in Quebec. So Oscar Rivas to maybe Top Rank.
Because both Rivas and Beterbiev are Yavon Mitchell guys, right?
That's right, yeah. There was a lot of talk that there was a deal trying to be hashed out with Matchroom and Oscar Rivas, but that looks to have reached a just not going to happen, and maybe it could be Top Rank. But he said he wants to fight. Who was it? He wants Andy Ruiz, a bit of Andy Ruiz as well, and he said Dubois. Give me Oscar Rivas wants to fight Dubois. I don't know, but
I would love it.
Good luck with that one.
But I would want Joe Miller versus Oscar Rivas.
Yeah, that's obviously, if he signs, that's going to be a one for after Miller's had some.
Oh, both guys have their entrance, Top Rank.
Yeah, they can make that in the hope to land a Fury fight, right?
Absolutely, and they won't land it.
No, because he'll take that WBC belt and come back to England. And
no, that's not true. He's gonna get knocked out twice by Deontay Wilder in the second and third fight.
Oh, on that, by the way, I don't know if people know, but BT won the rights. It's on BT box office over here. A few little promos went out. BBC have dropped the promo video on their YouTube channel. I'm sure it's been all over the playoffs. So it will be all over it today. Wilder Fury. Although I think this first game's on CBS, so I doubt it's. I think so. It might be on the next one if that's on Fox, I guess. But yeah,
thanks a lot of on that topic of promos. I saw a lot of promos for the fight on the McGregor pay-per-view. Thought that was obvious because ESPN. It's pay-per-view. Of course, they're going to sell their other pay-per-view in a month's time on a big McGregor pay-per-view. But just smart, thought that was good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
They were interjecting a lot with. I want to say it was in the prelims more so than the pay-per-view card. I want to say I saw this. They went to like a Joe Tessitore, Deontay Wilder interview that was like in studio. That was interesting. I don't know if you saw that, Gary.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I know you didn't watch the UFC card, but I was wondering maybe if you saw that on like other programming. Yeah, but they have been pushing a little bit more lately, so that's good to see. They need to.
Yeah, I mean, also, I think McGregor was trending number one, like 10 million searches or something. So, yeah, if all those people were tuning in and from wherever, and they got to see Wilder Fury too, who knows? But it's not doing 2 million buys, Bob. I'm sorry.
It's not doing a million. It's not doing a million either. But guys, that's it for today's show at MCR. Hit the like button, share the show, all that fun stuff. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. You can find me, Matt Hunter, MCR on all social media platforms. Rob?
Yeah, UK Rob, MCR, Instagram and Twitter. People, if you want to send me the best, funniest, or best commentary clips, just send them to me on UK Rob MCR. Just put together a nice new intro. Like to keep things mixed up, a little bit different. You never know what we're going to come in with. But if it's clips from the listeners, then it's kind of like your intro. You know what I mean? So
I want to add something to the list that I sent you.
Okay.
It's go on my Twitter feed after the show. It's that Jamel Charlo. I think it's Jamel Charlo clip where he's talking about snack.
Oh yeah.
He's yelling snack, and they don't even spell that shit right. So you know what that means. I need that in the intro.
Yeah, all right, we'll get that in there. But yeah, send any clips. Ideally, you will clip them for me. Instead of just get so and so saying that was funny. Just send me the clip. It makes it easier than having to try and find it somewhere.
but it does help to get reminded of like certain quotables because I'll be honest, I forget all the time. Like any or I don't know. Probably Monology says funny shit on the booth, and I forget. And some of you guys do remember that.
Yeah, I mean, you wanted who was it saying it's a Chavez fight?
I think it was Brian Kenny that said it. It was either him or Sergio Moore, but one of them said it's a Chavez fight. What do you expect?
Yeah, we'll take some of that. But yeah, any fire intro, any big moments, any funny interview clips or presser clips or anything like that, send them to me. I'll chop it all up, put it with some different tunes, mix it up. But yeah, I like making new intros for the show. Last one was all right, but I wasn't quite happy with it, and the levels weren't quite right. So I want to tinker around and make a new one. I get bored easy.
Gary in Dallas.
Congratulations to the banana, Jason Rosario, on becoming the unified 154-pound champ. With that knockout, he'll join the list of great one-hit artists such as Los Del Rio, Eiffel 65, and the Baja Men, of people we will soon forget and never speak of again. Congratulations to Jason Rosario.
The disrespect on Baja Men. How dare you?
Who let the dogs out?
Exactly.
Yeah. Who let the banana out? He's out.
Worst nickname in the sport, by the way.
The banana. You get out of here.
How do you think he got that nick? I don't even want to know. Find me on all forms of social media at 3D Boxing Blog. Texas to the world. Thank you. God bless.
If it's yellow, see a doctor.
Peace.